Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Lewis with We Are Winter Garden, and we are joined by Pastor Scott, who is the CEO and founder of Matthew's Hope, and Shelley Bradford, who is the president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. Welcome to episode 37 of Straight Talk No BS with Matthew's Hope, where we're going to be talking about power and danger of dehumanization. Now, before we discuss what dehumanization has to do with those experiencing homelessness, let's take a look at the definition. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines dehumanization as a transitive verb to deprive someone or something of human qualities, personality, or dignity, to address or portray someone in a way that obscures or demeans that person's humanity or individuality. So dehumanization and experiencing homelessness. You guys ready for this?
I think so.
This should be fun. I'm ticked off already. Let's go.
There you go.
Scott, what are some examples of ways that people dehumanize those experiencing homelessness?
You know, the sad part is that it has almost become an unconscious behavior for many people just due to the lack of empathy towards others.
Mm-hmm.
I watch people all the times, talk about, well, the bum just needs to get a job, not understanding anything about the bum or understanding how that person got there. We dehumanize people by the fact that if they aren't like us, and this isn't just homelessness, we do this with racial issues and all kinds of things. Yeah. Homelessness, though, is one that doesn't pick a race.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into either one of our campuses, you're going to see a mix of white, black, and everything in between. You're going to see mostly people that are older.
Yeah.
That's become the norm. That wasn't true when we started 14 years ago. You're going to see roughly 34% of them being women. And out of those women, you're going to see a number of them that are well into their 70s, possibly older, that did all the things right according to society, but their husband happened to pass, and therefore they lost a part of their pension or their Social Security and are homeless for the first time at their 80 years old.
Mm.
Now, people look and go, well, what ways did they fail? They didn't fail. This is the first time they're homeless, and they don't even know how to do it. So I think those are just simple things. But I mean, it really is. We assume that someone who's homeless has made a mistake in life. We assume that they're uneducated. We assume and often tag them as drug addicts and alcoholics. We make a lot of assumptions with never bothering to look at what is really going on.
Mm.
It's easy now. Years ago, I was told that opinions were like assholes. Everybody has one.
Yeah.
And the sad part is before everybody gets writing me on cussing, the sad part about it is that opinions should be based on knowledge, not on what you think you heard or what you think you understand. And hopefully this podcast helps people understand. The bigger challenge yet is, will people invest a few minutes to do that?
What have you seen or heard from your guests that people have done to them to dehumanize them? Are there any specific examples?
I'll give one quick example that happened just a while back. I was coming down, this is over in our Brevard campus. I was coming down, I have to come down 520, go over the bridge to where I live. And I watched some kids that were roughly between, I'm guessing 15 and 18, 3 boys walk by a man that was homeless. One of our, I knew who the man was. And as they passed him, the one took an open hand and just hit the man upside the head and continued to walk on and laugh.
But the people are saying that the homeless are dangerous, but it's people walking by the homeless that are smacking them up.
Usually the homeless people want to be left alone.
And statistically, it's been proven that you're more likely to be a victim of a crime as someone who's homeless than actually be the criminal.
Yeah.
That statistically holds true nationwide.
Mm-hmm. Scott, what do you think made that kid do that?
Oh, because he's just a homeless guy. I mean, look, I speak at schools sometimes, and I'm always fascinated that when I speak to the really young kids, I'll usually show pictures of various people, and one of them is me. And I try to get them to understand and ask who's homeless.
Mhm.
And they always pick out the wrong people. Then I say, well, what do you know about the homeless?
Yeah.
And these are kids that are somewhere around 5, 6 years
Yeah.
old that are telling me that, well, they're bums, they're drug addicts, they're alcoholics, they don't like working, they're lazy.
Wow.
First off, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, how would they even have an opinion?
They've heard that somewhere.
They
Yeah.
heard that.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
learned behavior. And from there, now they've learned that it's acceptable to treat other people less than them.
Yeah.
And once that becomes an acceptable behavior, then our whole society starts to collapse.
Mhm.
And personally, I think we're witnessing that some.
Yeah, for sure.
At my ripe old age of 62.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really bothering you, isn't it?
I'm trying to come to terms with
Okay.
it. Okay, I'm supposed to, come on. I'm going to have to go out and get a flat top, start letting my belly overlap my shorts here shortly. So
So let's take a look at some specific examples of what can happen when someone sees a population is less than human. In a moment, I'm going to show you 2 social media videos from a man named John McEntee, who is an American political advisor that served in the Trump administration. Last year, the Heritage Foundation announced that John has joined the Presidential Transition Project, known commonly as Project 2025, as a senior advisor. John's responsibilities include assembling a list of candidates to help fill up 4,000 positions that require political appointments should Trump become president again. The director of Project 2025 said this about John. He knows how to build a high-performing team that is loyal and committed to advancing conservative values. The 47th president must and will confront the deep state and will turn to John McEntee to do so. So now that we've established a little bit about John, let's take a look at a few of his social videos related to homelessness.
Los Angeles is run exclusively by Democrats, and they're the ones that say they're going to clean up the environment. So I always keep this fake Hollywood money in my car, so when a homeless person asks for money, then I give them like a fake $5 bill. So I feel good about myself, they feel good. And then when they go to use it, they get arrested. So I'm actually like helping clean up the community, getting them off the street.
Wow.
his mother should be proud.
Wow.
Let me. I don't play politics. I could give a rat's who you vote for, and I don't think we're going to come out any better with one or the other. Pick your poison. But I've always considered myself someone with conservative values. If this is what conservative means now, I want nothing to do with
Right.
it. I realize that not everybody can see what we just saw, but you could hear it. But kind of paint the picture for you, two things that were happening there was, one is he was referring to a tent city in LA and referring to cleaning up the environment. And then he was sitting in his car and he was talking about passing out what amounts to counterfeit money to the homeless, talking about how it made him feel good, it made them feel good, it made him feel good again because they got arrested and he was cleaning up the streets. Now, he's such an ass, and I don't care who wants to argue with that with me politically, Republican, Democrat. If you are comfortable with that, that's a problem, because he is such an ass that then he had to back it up because he realized he just admitted to passing counterfeit money.
Right.
Okay, and came up on later on it came up that it was a joke. Everybody, first off, there's some things you just simply don't joke about. Okay, I can't sit here and say, I'm going to go murder all the gay men out there and then go, I was just joking. No, you put it out there to the universe. It has now been put out there, and there are people that will agree with that. Some of them, just because they really haven't thought it through and they're ignorant, or number two, they're mentally ill and they're going to help this guy clean up. What disturbs me more is this really who we want to advise who we're going to bring into the political arena?
Nope.
Okay. And again, I don't care if Democrat or Republican. I mean, I've been a conservative my whole life. I believe that I have very conservative values. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that not just that I'm a pastor, I'm a believer. I actually believe this stuff. And I think the one thing that disturbs me about this also, those who thinks this is okay, that also says they're a believer, how can you be a believer? How can you claim that you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior if you are going to turn around and spew this kind of crap out into the world?
Yeah.
Okay. And unfortunately, what's happened is the evangelical right has gotten behind this for some reason, and I don't understand. I considered myself evangelical.
Sure.
I don't know what to consider myself now because I still believe in conservative values, but I also believe
they've been skewed.
Well, they've been turned
They've
into
been
something
totally
it's
skewed.
not.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't understand that, and am I a little PO'd? I am, and I'd love to sit and see this jerk sit in front of me and say something so stupid. The problem is his ignorance level goes so deep that I believe he thinks this is okay. And unfortunately, he has powerful people that are allowing him to go to the forefront to bring other people who believe in this kind of junk. Sorry, I hit your thing there again.
It's okay.
It just...
How does the idea of needing to clean up Tent City miss the point that those tents are filled with human beings and there's nowhere for them else to go?
Sounds like we're just going to take out the trash.
Right.
Well, I mean, look, we've seen it here. We've seen it here where we've had, I've referenced this earlier in other episodes where we've had people come in and just take a bulldozer or a, whatever they're called, those
The claw type things.
and just take people's homes.
Wow.
That's their homes. And, so it happens here.
Yeah,
It's just, we're just not as exciting to talk about.
Well, and we're not, and here's the other part. People don't realize this. Florida is the third largest homeless population in the country. Central Florida is the fastest growing homeless population in the country.
For sure.
And if we do not get proactive by actually, now LA has decided it wants to clean things up.
Yeah.
Okay. But now it's $1 billion problem instead of $1 million problem.
Yeah.
We need to get proactive, especially with this new law, HB 1365, that goes into effect October 1st into law that makes it illegal to sleep outside. They call it the camping law, but it clearly says sleeping outside. You can be arrested anywhere in the state of Florida.
Well, and you know what people are doing now. Now our homeless guests are going and they're renting U-Hauls.
Yes.
Because they can sleep in their cars still, as long as somebody with private property will allow them to sleep there. Where we were the other night, he called me. He said, "I have homeless people sleeping on my, how do I talk to them about keeping their area clean?" So it's happening. It's that people are trying to figure out how to circumvent this law all over the place. And is that really what they want? Is that really what?
Can you imagine sleeping in a U-Haul? It's
I
June.
cannot.
Yeah.
It's June. Can you imagine what it can be like August?
I cannot.
No.
Sleeping in that hot box. But when U-Haul becomes a viable alternative for just to be able to lay your head down, I do want to give some credit where credit's due. Over in Brevard County, specifically Cocoa, we have had meetings during the month of May. We had a couple meetings with the chief of police, his lieutenants, commanders, and what have you. And they used to clear out everybody that was sleeping around town at anywhere from 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning. Flashlight in the face, you got to go. And I said, not here is not an answer, because if they go down the street, you're just going to do it again.
Right.
So what they've done, and I give them, Chief Collier and his team, a lot of credit here, is when instead of the cleanup happening at the end of the shift, the new shift coming on at 6 is going to be who goes out there. As long as you're sitting up, you're going to be left alone. If you're sleeping, you're going to be asked to sit up or move along. And if you don't, you get trespassed. At that point, okay, I got to tell you what a difference it has made over there, and just the attitude and the fact that some of the homeless are getting rest.
Of course.
People don't realize how many of these homeless people are working, and they're just trying to get a couple hours sleep so they can survive. And so when you have someone talks about cleaning things up, okay, I'm glad that he was born. Good for him that he apparently was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and he clearly is a snobbish idiot.
I think if he were sitting here, I would ask him, what is your definition of cleaning this up?
I'd ask him what his definition of God was.
Oh, well, of course.
Okay.
But let's say he doesn't care, right? But all he cares about is the environment. Okay. So what's your definition of cleaning this up?
Well, the scary part, and if I heard it right, was he actually compared, he was talking about the Democrats, which again, no love lost here either.
Sure.
I'm not fond of what either one has done with our country for for eons, since I can remember now. However, he talks about they're the ones that talk about cleaning up the environment.
Right.
He's suggesting that the homeless people are just part of the environment that needs to be cleaned up.
Right.
These are human beings.
Right.
Oh, by the way, you conservatives out there that I apparently am not a part of anymore, a human being is also called a child of God. And God said he made all in his image. So exactly help me understand how you were given the right to thump a Bible at someone and talk about who and who is not one of God's children.
Right.
That just, you know what, at the risk of losing some of our followers, I'm not comfortable with being grouped in with that kind of people, and neither should you. Neither should you. I mean, this.
What role does dehumanization play in people's thinking that it's all right to have ideas like this, even jokes, as he claims that it was just a joke?
We've made it acceptable.
Yeah.
Okay, when I was a kid, people made pretty awful jokes about Black people. It was acceptable. And so people would sit there, I'm just joking. When I was a kid, okay, I grew up, I was born in 62. I grew up in the best time in the world during the 70s. But we used to play a game called Smear the Queer.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Okay?
I've heard of that
And
before.
the whole idea was we'd throw the ball, and whoever got that ball, we all went to get him, and we would just wipe them off. But think about what we called it. There's a lot of things we called it.
Right.
Smear the Queer.
Right.
Do you think any of us ever thought about the fact that we were trying to smear a queer?
Well, sure. Of course.
It became acceptable. The problem is some of those people went on to believe that that's what we do is we smear the queer.
So I'm reading a book right now, and one of the things that he talks about
Check my pulse.
Settle down. One of the things he talks about is how we today are paying for things that our ancestors did. And we're paying for them because our ancestors did them. Though we may not believe how our ancestors believed, we still believe in the history. It has been so interesting to listen to somebody else's point of view through all of this, because I'm like, that's really how I think. I think, our history is so important because you learn from it.
Right.
And, just like your game, Smear the Queer.
Yeah.
There was no malice in that whatsoever.
No.
But today, can you imagine?
Oh, I mean, first, obviously it was improper. But in that
it wasn't
time,
for the time.
it gave an okay.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way things were.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of people, you all might have heard that. A lot of people don't believe this, but I was actually a sprinter in school. And I grew up in a predominantly Black community.
I never was.
And but I was built kind of like I am now. My 50 shoulders were a lot more impressive with a 32 waist than they are today. But I come looking like a shot putter. I come up and these tall Black guys were with me, and they look at me like, what's the white kid doing here? At that, the short little white guy. And then I'd kick their butt. Okay. But I was also on what is called the 880 relay. It's now the 800 meter. But at 880 relay, I was on the world record holding 880 relay team for the Junior Olympics.
Wow, fun fact.
And my three other guys that were with me were all Black kids. Okay. And I was the anchor. Anybody knows what that means. It means you put your fastest guy at the end so he finishes off, closes the race out.
Yeah.
I was the anchor. We went out for a training run one day, and we passed my grandmother's house. And we were all thirsty. So I opened the door. I never knocked at my grandmother. Her name was Betty. I called her Bobby. I said, Bobby. And she came up. She goes, hey, Scotty, what's going on? And she sees my three friends. She says, hi, boys. Okay. And I said, can we get something to drink?
Right.
And she stopped. Like she was trying to process getting us to drink and what we were going to drink from. Now, I never heard my grandmother say any racist comments ever. It just wasn't who she or my grandfather was. However, I lived in a time when I remember Black and white fountains,
Wow.
drinking fountains. They were still there when I was a kid. And I remember this process, and eventually she brought up drinks. So years later, as I became an adult, I said, Bobby, we're talking about it. I said, do you remember? She goes, I've never forgotten. And I thought it was interesting. She never forgot either. It was both for the same reasons. She was trying to figure out why her brain was processing that way. She goes, I didn't have anything against these boys. I never thought of myself as a racist. What I knew was that we weren't supposed to be sharing cups.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Mhm.
But with no intent. Now, look, I also lived in the deep South for a good part of my childhood. There was much intent,
Mhm.
but with no intent, she did a racial type thing. She
Sure,
profiled.
Sure.
And we're doing it with homeless people now. The good news about homelessness is it doesn't choose a color or age group.
Yeah.
Right.
If anything, it's predominantly white. Okay,
And, well, yeah.
predominantly white, and predominantly over the age of 60. In the people we're serving, I can't speak for the whole country, but we're seeing more and more, and we're seeing the rise in females rising rapidly again too, which happened a few years ago.
Right now, we're seeing a couple families as well, which
Families,
breaks my heart when you see these little people walking around who didn't choose this.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Breaks my
often
heart.
don't even know they're homeless.
No. Right.
They don't understand
Right.
what's going on. This has become the norm
And
for them.
the parents are getting divorced because they get better benefits being divorced because they don't know how to get out of it otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that okay?
Yeah, our system
How
is
is that
set up
okay?
in such a way it actually benefits them
Yeah.
to not be
Yeah.
together.
So let's talk about these videos and kind of bounce back to that a little bit. The videos, they were posted on his account for his dating app designed to help people connect with like-minded people.
Yeah, these people
What?
that procreate. Yeah. Yeah. Let's make sure they procreate a dating site.
So what are the potential dangers when a group of people look at another group of people as less than human?
I think he demonstrated all by himself. I mean, seriously, the sad part is we live in a world that social media has a huge impact on everyday life. There are some people that only get their news from social media.
Yeah.
So, I saw something the other day. I know it's true because Abraham Lincoln said it on Facebook. Okay.
Right.
And you're going, okay, I hope they were joking.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's almost that extreme at times,
Yeah.
the things that people believe. Now you throw in AI into it. But you look at this and you think of this extremism, and a lot of what the new term now is nationalist. We're creating nationalist. And I find that so absurd because there's not one of us in the United States that came from here.
It's true.
We may have been born here,
Yeah.
but none of us came from here.
Right.
Okay. Outside the American Indian, there's no one that has rights to here.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go back, those people that haven't learned from history, what they say, if you haven't learned from your history, you're damned to repeat it.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
If you go back, especially places like New York City, where everybody came through years
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
when the Irish came through, it was the same thing. When the English came through, it was the same thing. When the Chinese came through, it was the same.
Mhm.
Okay. Now it's one of the greatest places to visit because if you like food, you can go
Right.
to little Italy.
Yeah.
You can go to little Chinatown. You go and think that you're there, get legitimate, real food. That's the beauty of the melting pot. Now, when you're on I-4 and stuff, that's the beauty. It's not so beautiful to be on the 528
Right.
of the melting pot because everybody's driving from a different country, different state. But the point is that when you select a group and make them less than, and then you promote it in a way that you can now on social media and get people to agree to it.
Mhm.
I don't care what you say about Trump. He is a amazing motivator of people.
Mhm.
I don't get it. I really don't get it.
So was Obama.
So was Hitler.
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
right. Right.
So,
Right.
just because you're a great motivator, it's kind of like I think I asked you earlier. I think before we were on, I said, "What makes someone a
Influencer.
influencer?"
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And one of you said you are one. And
Yeah.
I go, "Who am I influencing?" Okay, I may influence some people and thoughts, but my thoughts are based on research
Yeah.
and being in the trenches.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to see people sleeping on the side of the road either.
Absolutely.
I
not.
darn sure don't want people going through my trash in my
Right.
front yard. I don't want any of these things the other people want. So don't get us wrong. We're not
Right.
here to say this is okay. We're saying let's address it appropriately. Okay. Let's put mental health as a forefront
Mhm.
to what we're doing. Let's figure out ways for people to make an appropriate income. I mean, this idea of the only difference between McDonald's now and 2 years ago is now they get paid more money, you still get my order wrong.
Well, they
Okay.
still,
And they
it's
still
not a
can't
livable
survive
wage.
because everything else is going up with it.
Yeah.
Those jobs were never meant to support people.
Right.
Right.
But particularly here in Florida, we're an economy that's driven
Mhm.
by
Service.
tourism,
Yeah.
services,
Mhm.
and that presents a problem for
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
But here's what's going to happen, you pretty people, is what are you going to do when there's no one left to cut your grass? When there's
Right.
nobody left you to serve your cocktail or serve your fancy dinner?
Right.
Okay, because what happens is eventually this is already happening in all the areas I've lived in. It's happening in every single one of them. I've lived in Clearwater, I've lived in Miami, I have lived in Merritt Island, I have lived in Winter Garden, I have lived in Orlando, a couple places in between. And what I can tell you is all those places are lacking service personnel because those people had to move away to find some place to live, and they can't make enough to drive into town that hour
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do work.
Right.
So it starts to collapse upon itself.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's something we should hope for or hope against, because I'm not sure what it's going to take to wake people up. In the meantime, more young families are becoming homeless than ever before, more seniors than ever before,
Yes.
and more people with disabilities, physical and mental disabilities than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't conserve anybody of any political persuasion, I'd have your heart checked.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back to Matthew's Hope a little bit. We would never condone handing
I'm
out
actually sweating.
Hollywood
That just ticked
or
me off.
counterfeit money out the
God.
window in the hopes of getting someone arrested or cleaning up the areas, whatever he had said. But there's actually tools that you guys have to help with this.
So
that
we
are called
do.
pastor bucks.
I was going to
Can
say
talk
we
about
do
that?
have pastor bucks.
Okay, let's talk
And
about that. What
they're
that is.
clearly not counterfeit money.
Right.
You can
There's a
see that
purpose,
it is Scott
and it's helpful
on there, and
Well,
the
so what-
staff
Scott's caricature.
Sure.
So let's go
And
back.
this-
And what is a pastor buck?
And the staff has actually kidded lately that they should make one with my face on it too. And I'm like, it's okay. We don't need to do that.
A pastor buck can actually be purchased locally. That if you just, I am against panhandling. Okay, I think it's a bad idea for a lot of different reasons. But if you must, what I suggest that people can offer them pastor bucks. If they tear it up, we still have the $5 or $10 increment
Right.
to help the people that want the help. If they bring it in, they have an extra $5, $10 to get things they may need.
Right.
What can they get with that?
You know
With
what?
pastor bucks,
Here's what's really
what's
cool.
available to
Pastor
them?
bucks that are wrapped into our point system. We've had people get anything from more clothing and hygiene items and food items up to having their teeth replaced. We've had people have eye surgery. We've had people buy cars, computers, anything that helps move them forward towards a life of independence and self-sustainability will typically be approved. Points and pastor bucks are backed by real dollars.
Mm.
People need to understand that.
Right.
We just control how they're spent. Our goal is to help you help yourself, not get you everything you want, but make sure you have the things you need, that we filled your toolbox with those things that you need to be able to survive out there in this world.
So if I want to get pastor bucks, what do I do?
You can come at any of our locations
Okay.
and actually purchase pastor bucks to actually give to our guests.
Okay.
And you can call and tell us you're coming in and how many you want.
Yeah.
We might have to print some more.
Okay.
We have our we print our own money, not in the way this guy's talking about. I mean, it's clearly not
It's on
money.
yellow
Let's make
pieces of
it
It's on
paper.
yellow pieces of paper, a picture
With
of me
Scott's picture.
of me that's now 14, 15 years old.
And can
Still
they
looks
come,
like you.
Can they come
It still
to
looks like you.
this space that we're in now? We're in the Matthews Hope Chest.
Yeah.
Are they able to come here, or is it just at the Matthews Hope
So
office?
if they were to come here, we would actually send them to our address
Okay.
a couple of blocks over
Okay.
to actually use those pastor bucks.
Great.
Yeah. And you know they've proven to be a very effective tool.
I like that.
It
process.
started out as a joke. My staff back then, I had been pepper sprayed, and
Weren't you hit with a chair as well?
yeah. It
Yeah.
was
That's
a
for
rough.
another podcast.
Yeah.
It was a
Let's
rough
not
day.
let him go down that rabbit
This is not
hole.
something we typically have happen. This is a long time ago.
No, sure.
But it happened, and I had someone who actually stalked me.
Yeah.
And the police were aware of it and what have you. Somehow he got on property, and he pepper sprayed me. And long story short, they caught him. He went to jail for it. and he actually went to get some mental. He was required. I had an opportunity what his charges would be, and I suggested that rather than punish him, that he have to go for mental health counseling, and that's what they agreed to, and he had to do. And I've never seen the guy since, so I don't know how that turned out. What I'll tell you is that day, when they wash your eyes out, the fire department came out, washed my eyes out with Dove soap, and I always thought if Dove soap felt better than pepper spray, that's some pretty interesting stuff. But when it was all done, a friend of mine was there doing caricatures of the homeless. And I was kind of sitting there like this, and I was clearly ticked off. And some of y'all that, if you don't know me and you can't see me now, I used to have kind of spiked up hair. And he drew a picture of me, and it was a big picture. It's around somewhere.
It is, yeah.
And they zeroed it down into a $5 bill.
Yeah.
And that's literally how it started. And then I sat there and looked at it. I went, someone said, looked at that, and they go, those are, that we could call those Reverend something. I go, what about Pastor Bucks? Yeah, what do we do with them? And that's kind of how the whole point system and everything started. That is literally the centerpiece of how we help people today. So it's turned out to be a cool thing. But, this lets me touch on something else that I feel like we need to touch on is in Orlando, we have 3 shelters. And those shelters are all within walking distance of each other. When I say Orlando, I should say Orange County. Yeah. They're all in Orlando, walking distance. People don't realize those are not free. Your first week is typically free, I think, and then it goes anywhere from $10 to $13 a night.
Yeah.
So here's the next problem we have. Typically, if you're seeing somebody panhandle, most of those people are not are not homeless.
Okay.
They're scamming the system. But downtown, a lot of them are panhandling to get enough money because it doesn't make sense to get a job, because what job do you know? You've got to be in line by 2 o'clock.
Oh.
How are you going to say, go to your boss, say, I got to get off at 1:30 so I can get line down at Coalition so I can sleep tonight. Okay. So they panhandle in the morning to make enough money to be able to sleep at night.
How are they going to move forward doing that?
They aren't.
They're not. Yeah.
They aren't. And that's why I bring it up, is because this is traditionally how it's done nationwide. Okay. We've actually created the criminal activity we don't want to see. We've actually created the need, okay, that instead of addressing the need, we've created a bigger need because we're preventing people from becoming independent, self-sustainable. Okay. And we focus more money on hiding the homeless than helping the homeless. Okay. Most money is spent on chronic homelessness, which kills me, because let's say Shelley's been out there for 5 years, but you've been out there for 5 months. Guess where I'm spending my money? I got a better chance of getting you off the street sooner, okay, and getting you self-sufficient. It's not that I'm going to give up on Shelley, but that's going to take longer. She's become part of that lifestyle. If she has children, they probably have been taken away by this point. You still have yours, so there's all different kinds of reasons. But the money that we spend is on hiding the homeless rather than helping the homeless. Out of sight, out of mind. In Orlando, it's the city beautiful. We can't have that scene. This is the happiest place in the world. On Earth, right?
On Earth.
So speaking of money, Matthew's Hope is helping a lot of people. You guys have a lot of, you have medical, you have you have food, you have all of these different expenses. How can we as a community help you guys?
So we're done talking about that guy? Okay.
I don't have a blood pressure cuff. I need to keep you
I'm so aggravated. I'm so aggravated.
If you have anything you want to close with that, please.
I think what I want to say is, if we as a society are uneducated people, okay, and we can figure this out,
right,
and we can figure out, why are we able to look at this and say, this is creating a cycle?
Yes.
Why can't educated people look at this and go, wait a minute, because we are continuing this process where we want to stop this process.
And I like to show you, I mean, it's fair to say that.
Yes.
Okay? I'm a high school dropout. Okay. One of our directors is a former heroin addict.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is it that we've gotten our heads around it? Shelley has a lot of certifications that she's worked for, but not the formal education that you see some of these people having. So how is it that we are
not
able
today?
How is it we sit at a table
probably
and we're able to come
you
up
don't
with
need it. Like, you're helping so many people. Like, what's the point?
Right.
Well, how
in this
how is it
situation
that we have figured out how to find effective ways to help these people, and people that have these educations and that are being picked to help persuade our future politicians.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That makes no sense.
That needs
to
to
me.
stop.
But the truth is, I rarely get a seat at the table.
Well, that's why. That's why.
Okay.
We don't get to show up because we're louder.
Mm.
We're louder, and
We're louder.
we don't have
we are
the
not pretty.
credentials.
Yeah. And we're not the pretty people. We're not the people that are going to get out there and go, oh, well, look at this.
Mhm.
We know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not willing to pay the thousands of dollars to know what I know.
Mm-hmm.
Scott's not willing to pay the thousands of dollars to know what he knows. We've lived these life situations. I've been a single mom. He's been homeless.
Yeah.
Why? What more do you need?
Right. Right.
And people can make statistics say whatever they want. The truth is, when you look at statistics just for our areas, the numbers are way, way off.
Yeah.
Supposedly, Orange County has somewhere less than 3,000 homeless people. And
That's
yet,
cute.
Yes,
That's cute.
that means they pretty much all live in West Orange County.
They're all
Okay.
they're all at 611 Business
Same-
Park Boulevard.
yeah, right. Same thing as Brevard. I mean, they do this point in time count, which is almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
Every year. It's a homeless census. We have to step back and look at what we see every day, what the reality of it is, and start approaching things proactively instead of spending thousands upon thousands, if not millions of dollars on another study.
Mm.
What study is going to tell me that I don't already know from being out there? You know, one of my favorite professors, a guy named Steve Brown. If you ever look up Steve, he's on the radio and he speaks all over the world, and he always
He's got an
finishes.
amazing voice.
He does. He sounds like he's 20 feet tall and he's shorter than I am.
And he's like
but he
120
said he
pounds.
always finishes his commentary with now you think about that,
Yeah.
okay? But Steve said something to me, and
I know who you're talking about just
Yeah.
because of that phrase.
Yeah.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
His last book that I know of was 3 Free Sins.
Mhm.
Great little book. But anyhow, Steve said to me one day, and I'll never forget, and I wonder if he remembers telling me, he says, you got to get some dirt under your fingernails. He said, all Christians have scabs on their knees,
Mm.
but few have dirt under their fingernails.
Yep.
And that impacted me in a big way. You can pray. I mean, when people say they're praying for me, I so much appreciate that. But it takes more than prayer. God will work through your prayers through you. It's not you praying for somebody else to do something. We are. You know, I said in a previous podcast a while back, I said, you know, I'm at this place, and you know, at 62 years old now, I'm kind of done. I'm so tired. I'm tired of being beat up. I'm tired of justifying why our vehicles look nice because we take care of them.
Right.
I'm tired of, you know, just being battered all the time. But the challenge is I can leave. I can leave right now. Nobody's make me stay here. But then who? And knowing what I know,
I'll have a pretty
I'm not. Well, you know, but here's the other thing, and I think the same with you, Shelley. Knowing what we know, how do you walk away from that?
You can't.
Okay,
You can't.
and it's time to encourage people to make eye contact. Okay, it's really easy to look on the television and go, "Oh, that's awful. Oh, look at that poor old woman." Okay, look in her eye next time.
Right.
Look in her eye. Make eye
Come
contact. Let her
volunteer at
become
Matthew's Hope.
human. Volunteer. Look, if you don't like me or Matthew's Hope, fine. There's other places. Okay. I don't think you'll find any place in the country that does what we do as well as we do, or even does what we do, period. But what I will tell you that we're not here to sell Matthew's Hope. We're here to help educate, hopefully,
Yep.
To encourage people to get some dirt under the fingernails,
Yeah.
to know. You know, I've said this before on podcasts. I'm gonna say it again. There's only one thing I ever really said to my kids. I don't know that I was a particularly great father. I traveled a lot at the time, but I said, girls, I'm never going to be here to tell you what to believe politically, what to believe religiously, anything like that. I said, all I ask of you is that you be able to know why you believe what you do and be able to articulate it.
I've said
Not
that to
because
my
you
kids,
heard
too.
it from somebody else, not because social media told you.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I heard someone the other day, they're interviewing, and they said, well, why are you voting for so-and-so? She goes, well, my friend's parents said he's a really good choice. And I'm going, oh my God, you're 23 years old. Have you not used your brain? Who cares what your friend's parents think?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, sure, to have a conversation,
Right.
learn what they think, but
Right.
learn what you think.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
We definitely all need to be better at that and to teach our kids that. So it's not this vicious cycle.
I'll settle down now.
Well, we're coming to a close. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. And it's okay if you get wild up, you're just passionate. So we appreciate you and all that you do. Shelley, you as well. Matthew's Hope wouldn't be what it is without you. So thank you. And thank you all for watching. I beg you guys to please like, share, comment, subscribe, and talk to your neighbors about this.
Can I share one other quick thing? Just remind you of this too.
Okay.
Is throughout the month of June, we have a donor that has come forth and offered us $300,000 in matching funds. Now, let me make sure everybody understands what that means. That doesn't mean they've given us $300,000.
Yeah.
They're saying for whatever money we raise up to $300,000, they will match. So through the month of June, if you go to our website or visit our Facebook, there's many places to find how to get to give, whether it's a one-time gift or you become a sustaining donor with a monthly or quarterly gift.
Okay.
It will all count towards that.
Oh, that's great.
And going into the historically slow months of summer, which scares the bejeebers out of me, going the slow months that are historically slow like that and giving, going into the summer, into midsummer with $600,000 would be an amazing thing and take a lot of pressure off our ministry. Because we are actually just meeting today about what services we may have to start kicking back on and pulling back on. We can't let any staff go because, quite honestly, we're understaffed as it is.
Absolutely.
But maybe we're going to have to start giving out less food, less clothing, less medical, less everything else
Come on,
we have.
Randy, let's not let that happen.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's the reality of where we're at. We're really struggling right now just because the 800 plus visits a week.
Wow.
Our average visit cost $88. Start doing the math.
There you have it, you guys.
Okay. So on we go.
Right.
Also, when you invest in Matthew's Hope, you're reinvesting into your community, which has been a great thing. One of the things that Scott was talking about is the matching donor. We've had a lot of calls and a lot of people interested in that. And it's been anywhere from small donors to big donors. So that's also good to know that people are interested in investing in our community. But let's keep it up because it's far from the 300,000 that we've, got to match.
Right, exactly. Well, you guys, let's do this. Let's invest into Matthew's Hope and invest in our community to help other humans because, like we've mentioned so many times before, we're all humans. They're humans. So we need to come together and help them as well.
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks.